Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Final Fantasy VII Enemy Trivia Challenge. I am unbelievably excited for this moment. I have been waiting for over a month, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of all-nighters or almost all-nighters working on this. The document I have for it is over 26,000 words at this point. It has been a ton of work. This has been more work than I've ever put into a challenge before the challenge has actually begun. So a lot of work, and I'm just happy we're finally able to start it. The goal of this is going to be mostly the challenge part of it, which isn't really much of a challenge, but the challenge part of it is going to be to fight every single enemy in the game, which is harder than it sounds. There's a lot of missable enemies. There's a lot of weird things going on with the enemies. A lot to cover. Also, every single enemy in the game, I have written up some kind of fun fact or trivia or something about the enemy to share with you guys. A lot of this has been grabbed from basically like the whole community. This is not just my, I didn't find all this information by myself. A lot of this stuff comes from the Final Fantasy Wiki, so shout outs to everyone that's contributed to the Final Fantasy Wiki over the years. Having said that, a lot of the stuff on the Wiki is incorrect, so I double checked almost everything that I wrote down from the Wiki. A lot of this stuff is my own stuff that I've found over the years, or stuff in my community that has been found over the years. And I have a couple other shout outs to give, but let's go ahead and start so the opening cutscene can play. But yes, this is going to be, not only are we going to fight every single enemy in the game, which is already a massive undertaking, to be honest, a lot more massive than I thought it was going to be. Going into this, I thought like it wasn't going to be that big of a deal, but this game has so many enemies. It's insane. There's a good chance you'll actually see an enemy during this playthrough that you've never seen before, just because there's so many. And writing the trivia for this, like I said, took over a month. I have probably spent 50 plus hours going over all of this, double checking all of it, making sure all of it actually is true, going back into the archives of things we found over the years, going through the wiki. So there's a lot here. And I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoyed writing it. So sit back, relax, enjoy Final Fantasy trivia. Shoutouts to Mavic, first of all, because he created the Ultima tool, and this would not have been possible without him at all. The ability to be able to jump in and fight any enemy I want at any time, I wouldn't have been able to do this without that ability, because there was so many little things I had to check when it came to random things with the code of the enemies or whatever. So shoutouts to Mav. This would not be possible without him. Also shoutouts to Slognad. He made me a really nice spreadsheet of every enemy in the game that I can go through and mark each one that we've done so I don't lose track. Also, there's a lot of enemies that are repeated, so it'll allow me to, if we fight an enemy in one area and then it's repeated in another area, I won't double, dip. So shout outs to him. That's going to be super duper helpful for this. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I want to set up everything here so that I can read the trivia and chat and see the game. So apologies if it's scuffed. I think I have it mostly the way I want it, but I might change it up as we go. First of all, what are we going to do for our window color this time? What's trivia? What's a trivia color? I feel like, I don't know why, but purple is kind of speaking to me. Like, purple kind of feels like a trivia-y color, but like a darker purple. Something like that. And then maybe like the same over here. What do you think? Feels too bright. Kind of like that. That's kind of clean. What do you think? Okay, then we got to do... We're actually going to be doing, for the first time ever, battle message is going to be set to slowest. Because there's a lot of battle messages we have to talk about. And we want to be able to actually see them. We're going to stick to fastest battle speed. But we're going to do wait for, again, probably the first time for a challenge other than, like, necrosis. And field message can stay fastest. Alright, here we go. Our very first piece of Final Fantasy VII enemy trivia is the first enemy in the game. It's the old MP. So, MP. In the original demo of the game, these guys were called security troops, and their battle model was a lot darker looking. The reason for the name change might be because they were trying to start to hint at the fact that Shinra was so powerful that they like control not only Midgar security, but the entire military of Midgar, because MP stands for military police. So it was probably their way of being like, trying to hint at the player at the beginning of the game, like, hey, Shinra's actually like controlling everything. This enemy uses both machine gun and Tonfa 50% of the time, but if he's in the back row, he actually uses machine gun 5/6 of the time. And funnily enough, the back row doesn't actually, he actually deals a lot less damage from the back row because machine gun isn't coded as a long range attack. So the idea was, let's put him in the back row so he shoots with the machine gun more, but the machine gun isn't coded as a back row attack, so it just does less damage. And we also have some cool concept art for the MP. Make this a little bigger. Which I thought was kind of cool because they're such a staple. The thing that's kind of funny about this concept art, you can see like the Tonfa down there. The funny thing about this concept art is they were like super... I'm guessing Tetsuya probably drew this. He was super adamant that the gun had a strap. Like, that was like his big thing. Like, it has to have a strap, and it has to like spin around his shoulder. Like, it was like super, he needed it to be that way. So he even put it in the concept art. Like, it goes around the shoulder with like a strap, and they can spin it around. So that's the MP. One down, 700 million to go. And yeah, like I said, the challenge of this run is going to be just finding all the enemies. In terms of the actual like difficulty of the challenge, it won't be too difficult. We're just playing through the game normally. In fact, it's going to be kind of easy because we're going to fight a lot of enemies. I'll probably... For my own little bit of challenge, and just so that we're not super over-leveled, so we can actually see what the enemies do, I'll probably only fight the enemies that, like for the trivia, like I won't fight any extra enemies, so we'll be a little lower leveled, so that'll kind of be a bit of a challenge. But other than that, it's not really going to be a challenge. The challenge is going to be finding all the enemies. Now, what's our name convention for this one? Any ideas? Dictionary. Debug names? That could be kind of funny. I think Cloud's debug name is Cloud. I think. Pet friend would know if she was here. Trivia host names. Well, then we already know what our boy Cloud is. Is that how you spell it? That's how you spell it, right? Trebek? With an E? It's not with an A. That'd be Trabeck. Oh, Barrett's got to be Dawson, then. That's beautiful. I love that. I grew up with trivia shows. I mean, not as much trivia shows. I grew up with a bunch of like GSN shows. Remember GSN, Game Show Network? Card Sharks and Press Your Luck and $100,000 Pyramid and Lingo. And Love Connection. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Who Wants to Be a Gillionaire? Alright, so I believe we can fight any enemy we want in this area. The only exception is sweepers are only at the bottom, I think. These are just more MPs. I think all the enemies show up everywhere in the reactor. It's just the sweepers only show up in the core. So we should be able to just go. I just said I was only going to fight enemies that I haven't done trivia for. And then I killed these two guys. It's fine. They give no XP. Tifa's got to be Vanna White. What other popular women in game shows are there? What's the name of the Weakest Link woman? I don't think I ever knew her name. I just knew her as the Weakest Link host. Betty White. Betty would be a great name for Aerith. Drew Carey. Oh, that's right. There was two of them. There was two of them because there was an American show. Ann Robinson. Sid could be Bob Barker. Oh my god, he's got to be Bob. How's it going, Mav? I gave you a big shout out to start here, but thanks again for the Ultima tool. This run would not be doable without it. All right, we got the first raise. So there's not a ton exciting about First Ray. That's probably not surprising at all. He only has one attack, and he always hits the enemy with the most HP. He also has one of the slowest animations in the game for his attack. The enemy has a recolor named Laser Cannon, which appears in the warning board enemy, which we'll see in the HQ. But yeah, not too much exciting going on with them. Interesting, though, that they do always target the most HP character. Meaning they're even less dangerous than they look. I think we need to fight some dogs. I think we might want to actually stay... we could fight them later in the train graveyard, but... let's go back to the platform, because they don't show up down here. I don't think. Also, Mav, thank you for the tier 3 37 on the bot resub. Thank you. Alright, these are mono drives. So mono drives have a 4% chance of dropping an ether, which is the very first ether available in the game other than the one you start with in your inventory. 4% chance is really low, but ethers are crazy to get in the first area. They sell for stupid amounts of gil that you could sell one and get like a ton of grenades if you were to get one. They're supposed to target the enemies in the front row with the drill drive, and then the back row with fire. But because the script is flawed, they instead target the lowest defense for drill drive and the lowest magic defense for fire, which is actually kind of better than what they intended for the enemy. I'm not exactly sure why they didn't just... Maybe there was like an accident that they did that, and then they were like, well, this is actually kind of better. So, yeah, that's going to be a running theme in this series, is flawed script. Another running thing about the enemy trivia that you're going to notice throughout the game is that the coding on these enemies is actually really interesting. Like, they put a lot of work into the AI of these enemies, and most of them you never get to see it because the fights in this game are pretty short. The game in general is easier as RPGs go, but the fights are pretty quick. Like, if you think about a fight in like Final Fantasy IX, it drags on for a lot longer, not just because the fight's slow, but because enemies usually have more HP and stuff. Enemies in this game tend to have very little HP. You tend to kill them in 2 or 3 hits. And it's more about kind of quick fights and a lot of them throughout an area. If you look at something like Final Fantasy X or Final Fantasy IX, you might only get into 2 or 3 fights in an area, but they're longer fights with more going on. Final Fantasy VII tends to have quicker fights, but they still took a lot of time to make a lot of in-depth AI for some of these enemies, and you just really never get to see a lot of it. And I'll talk more about some of those more in-depth AI things later. Yeah, I think I need one more screen back. I think you only get MPs here. I'm gonna learn a lot about where enemies are because I really don't know a lot about where enemies show up field-wise. So I'm going to learn a lot in terms of that. And there, like I said, you're probably going to see an enemy throughout this playthrough that you've never seen because there are a lot of enemies that show up on like one screen. One in particular shows up in one little spot on the world map. There we go. So this is a guard hound. He always uses both of his attacks, Bite and Tentacle, on the party member with the least HP. So he's kind of the opposite of the Mono Drive, and he's a little scarier for that reason, because he actually attacks people that are lower health. And he also has some early concept art, which is cool. Especially because he ended up being kind of a big part of the game in terms of, yeah, there's multiple versions of him, and also there's Dark Nation being kind of a more prevalent character in the remake. But oh, that was one other thing I meant to mention. There will be very, very minor Rebirth remake spoilers. I made sure not to include anything that's like a surprise enemy or something in remake, so if it was like a surprise enemy, then I don't mention it, but I do mention some like enemy change, like name changes from regular Final Fantasy VII to remake. So very, very minor remake Rebirth spoilers, but just be aware of that. Obviously no story or anything, I'm not gonna talk about anything like that, but some of the enemies have interesting name changes, and also some of the, like for example, there's an enemy with a name that was mistranslated, and then in remake they fix the mistranslation, so it like proves that it was indeed a mistranslation because they fix it in the remake. So there's a couple mentions like that. Okay, so now I think we're good until we get to the core. Do you know you have to hit that button yourself if you leave like that? Because the door closes. I'm I'm hoping that we can do all of this without, like, fast forwarding or anything, but if there is an enemy that takes a bit too long to find, I wouldn't mind, like, fast forwarding to find them. I'm more interested in sharing the trivia than, like, this being an official challenge or anything. So if there's an enemy that's being a jerk and won't show up, we can force the fight if we want. So we can keep moving at a brisk pace. There's a sweeper, and there's a grunt. So let's talk about the grunt first. The grunts were called combatants in the original demo of the game. And if you look at their arm, you can see they have kanji symbols on their arms. The kanji on all of the different grunt enemies is actually different. And this one translates to flammable, which I find pretty funny, especially since I don't even have like a fire attack. But it says flammable on their arm. He has a 50% chance to use hand claw or beam gun, but if they're in the back row, they have an 11 and 12th chance to use beam gun. So in this fight, since they're in the back row, they're almost always going to use beam gun. They were also supposed to use attacks based on the party's rows, but the script doesn't work correctly. Once again, another script error. They were supposed to like use different attacks depending on what row you're in as well, but it doesn't work. Shocker. And these guys also have some concept art. A lot of the early enemies have concept art. The funniest thing about this concept art is the, like, smoke coming out of his ear. I don't know if that was supposed to be, like, implemented, but and the kanji's even there on the concept art as well, and his little shoot attack. And you can see they're even, like, diamonds and stuff, so that was always intended to look like that. And then the sweeper. So the sweeper in the original 1996 demo, the first, I think the 1996 demo was the first demo. When you got all the way, so the demo you had Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa, and you basically did this mission, but with Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa. And when you got to the bottom of the reactor, Guard Scorpion didn't exist yet. So guess what you fought instead of Guard Scorpion at the end of the 1996 demo? A giant sweeper. A sweeper that's like 2 times the size of a regular sweeper. This is OG Guard Scorpion. Sweeper Scorpion. And 2 grunts. And blue grunts. So yeah, that was the original final boss of the demo. Was a big sweeper. That picture I took was off of a YouTube channel called Wobbles, so shoutouts to Wobbles. He has a playthrough of the original 1996 demo on his channel. We're gonna have to do a playthrough. I do have it. We did a playthrough of a different demo, the old PC demo where you're with Aerith, I think. But I don't think we've ever done the 1996 demo. Sweepers are often only fought in the starting mission, but you can also find them on a single screen in the train graveyard before you leave for the second bombing mission. So right before you get on the train, you can go into the little top section of the train graveyard, and you can actually fight them there. W Machine Gun, the attack that he does, is similar to W Materia's, as they use both guns versus Machine Gun just using one gun. So if you look at the animation when he does W Machine Gun, hold on. Here we go. See if we can have him do W Machine Gun. He actually uses both guns, whereas when he uses Machine Gun, he just uses one. So it's kind of a similarity to W item, W magic, W summon. Which I found funny because that's one of the biggest questions I get all the time is, Trebek got his limit break. He's going to use double jeopardy. I get that question all the time of like, why does W mean 2? And it's not just the materia. It's also some attacks that do that same thing. Man, I wish his limit was called Double Jeopardy now. What else? I have more. Machine Gun always hits the lowest HP member, and W Machine Gun always hits the highest HP member. Smoke Shot looks like it's supposed to cause darkness, and it even checks in the code for darkness when it picks its target. So it looks at a target and says, does this target have darkness? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, then it hits them with it. So almost every ailment attack in the entire game does that, so that an enemy doesn't waste their turn giving an ailment to a character that already has it. So it does check for darkness, but the attack doesn't deal darkness. It just deals damage. So I think at some point they wanted it to give darkness, and then they probably thought, maybe that's too much for the first dungeon. So then they got rid of it, but they never changed the code. So it still looks for darkness even though they can't have darkness. And in fact, there's no way to have darkness at this part of the game because you don't even have items yet. Couldn't even do it to yourself if you wanted to. What's Dawson's limit break? Kiss the girl. Survey says. All right, time for our first boss trivia. Bob Barker Showcase Showdown. All right, Mr. Guard Scorpion. Scroll down to my bosses here. So, Mr. Guard Scorpion. So, I wonder, should we show this? Let's show it. It'd be more fun to show. So normally, when you fight Guard Scorpion, obviously there's the text that everyone knows when he puts up his tail and he says, Cloud says, attack while its tail's up. It's going to counterattack with its laser. But did you know that if Barret isn't here for Cloud to say, attack while its tail's up, which normally doesn't happen because normally it'd be very difficult to kill Barret before he raises his tail for the first time. He only does 2 attacks before he raises his tail. But if Barret is already dead, Cloud will have different text instead of the classic that we all know. Instead, he says, it's going to fire that laser. Attack while its tail's up. It's going to counterattack with its laser. So he has an extra line of dialogue there. But wait. It gets even better. Because what if Cloud isn't alive at all? Then what? How's he going to say counterattack with that laser if he isn't alive? Instead, Barrett says, I don't know what's going on, but it looks pretty bad. Let's see what it does when its tail's up. So regardless of whether or not both are alive, only Cloud is alive, or only Barrett is alive, all three of them still give you the wrong information and basically bait you into attacking him. I always thought that it was like a typo, like they screwed up, and it's not really supposed to say that. But I think it was a troll the whole time. The whole time they were trolling us, and they actually wanted us to attack. Probably just to show us, like, hey, not every enemy is simple, like, you're gonna have to think about the battles, you know? So it was definitely intentional. But it's always been kind of memed about as like a mistranslation, like they didn't realize how baity it sounded. But no, I think they were baiting us the whole time. Like the whole time they were baiting us. And yeah, I'm actually glad you asked that because that was my other piece of trivia. What does Search Scope actually do? Search Scope does nothing. Literally nothing. It does tell the player who he's going to attack, which is actually really nice for the speedrun. Because you know who to block with or who's going to get hit for like limits or whatever. But yeah, the actual attack does nothing at all. It is just an attack to let you know who he's attacking. When it says locked on, that doesn't mean he hits more. That doesn't mean it's going to crit. Nothing. It only prints the message. Let me see, we got everyone here, right? We got Mono Drive, we got the Guard Hound, we got the First Ray, we got the Grunt, we got the Sweeper. I think that's everybody. We're good until we get to Sector 4 now. Guard Scorpion is one of the best enemies. It's a shame that a lot of the bosses don't have as good of gimmicks as Guard Scorpion does. Oops. I wasn't paying attention. It's fine, he'll die, right? Right? I don't know. It's fine. This is plenty of health. Yeah, I do. I really like this boss in that it kind of teaches you, hey, bosses are a little more than your regular enemy. You got to pay attention to what they do. They're going to have gimmicks. If you fight them wrong, you can get cooked. But then that just doesn't really apply to most of the rest of the game. There's only a couple bosses that don't just kind of attack you. But hey, the attempt was there. What's crazy to me is that there's a lot of bosses or regular enemies that have more complicated AI than the bosses. But again, you don't really see it very often because usually they're dead before you ever see what they do. But some of the regular enemies are really complicated. I actually love this naming thing. I'm glad we came up with it. For some reason, Cloud's name being Trebek just kills me. Also, R.I.P. Trebek. I remember watching his like messages to the community. He seemed like such a cool guy. It was a hard watch, but also, like, indicative of the indomitable human spirit, you know? So, like, on one hand, it was a hard watch, but on the other hand, it was something that I'm glad I watched. There we go, first area done. Like I said, this is going to be a challenge in the traditional sense. The challenge is just going to be finding all the enemies. I'll try not to fight too many extra enemies so that we stay a low level. But other than that, I didn't want to, like, implement some really complicated challenge, and I want to focus on the trivia, you know? But I still called it a challenge because it sounds better, and I guess it is kind of technically a challenge to find all the enemies. Gotta catch them all. It's the Pokemon challenge. It's a Nuzlocke challenge. You can only beat each enemy once. Then they're permadead. Extravaganza didn't take off. Well, now that you mention it, I may need to call it the Extravaganza. Should have named Cloud Professor Oak and then all the other characters' Pokemon names. We'll do that for the next one. These guys are just MPs, I believe. Can double check, but pretty sure they're MPs. Yeah. Still just as strong as the original one, still die in one hit. Man, the message speed, I didn't realize it slows down the gameplay so much, because you have to wait for the message to clear sometimes. But I'll probably keep it that way, because then you can see enemy attacks more clearly. Trebek. Anytime someone says Trebek ... I'm gonna laugh. Trebek. I also grew up watching Celebrity Jeopardy, which is extra funny to me now because I actually know some of the celebrities. When I watched it as a young teen, I didn't know any of the celebrities were. Yo, thank you, Cylon. Did I miss anyone else, by the way? Oop. That's not what I meant to do. I saw Advent gave a gifted sub. 2 gifted subs. In Omni, they give it the 3 months. Thank you, guys. If I had to be a contestant on a game show, which one would it be? Wait, can I get Jesse skip without actually setting it up? Probably Legends of the Hidden Temple, but as a adult. And when the guards popped out to take my talisman, I would just punch him in the face. Be like the easiest win ever. I always thought a $100,000 pyramid would be fun to be on too. Like that game is actually fun to play. Seems like they're all having a great time on that show. And Password too. They were like the same thing. It's not just Password. It's Super Password. I always had a dream as a kid is going on Double Dare with my parents, and then they ask some like super niche kid question, and I get it right and like win the game for our family. Like the whole game be like, what's the capital of Istanbul? I don't know. And then like at the end of the game, we're like 10 points away from winning, and then they're like, what was the name of Spyro the Dragon's partner? Like, oh, I know that one. You did it. You won the game for your whole family. Yeah, Richard Dawson is the host of Family Feud, the one that kissed all the ladies on every episode. And back then we all thought it was normal, and now we watch it and we're like, this is weird, right, guys? Is this weird? This seems weird. Oh, what, you don't know the capital of Istanbul? It obviously has a capital. They were all consenting adults, alright? It's still weird, though. Right in front of, like, their husband. It's just weird, okay? I'm not making any allegations here. It's just weird. You just watch it, it's just kind of weird. Also, like, he kisses the mom of the family, who's, like, grandma now, and then, like, kisses the mom, and then kisses the daughter, and you're like... This is strange. Okay, who's Tifa? Is she gonna be Betty, or is she gonna be Vanna? Or someone else? She's Vanna? Right. It's 2 N's, right? Full Metal is going all out for Sandy. He needs somebody to be Sandy. He's going to lose his mind if I don't call someone Sandy. Do I have any go-to mods for Final Fantasy VII? Definitive and Scavenger, because I made them. So play those ones. Also, New Threat is probably the best mod. New Threat is actually the right answer. Wait, Trebek. I don't know which mods I should install to make the experience Vanilla Plus, Definitive. And you could also do Shinra Archaeology, because it doesn't really change too much of the gameplay. Definitive is the best, just I want to play Final Fantasy VII, but I want to, like, be able to skip cutscenes and stuff. There's such a like laundry list of stuff we did for Definitive, I can't even remember all of it now. But it's all stuff that doesn't affect, you know, like fun glitches and stuff are still in the game. It's just kind of a, almost like a remastered type deal, but doesn't touch the graphics. Makes no sense. Don't listen to me. It's like a director's cut. I don't know. Quality of life mod. I mean, that is what it is. It's quality of life mod. I was trying to think of a cooler name for it, but it fixes annoying glitches and doesn't fix fun glitches. Did we put the, like, go fight the Fort Condor missions without having to run all the way back in Definitive? Or was that in something else? I don't remember if we did that in Definitive or not. Received Dawson's Kiss. Oh yeah, the New Threat has a guy that teleports you. What I like about Definitive is we made our own installer, so you just run it and that's it. You don't have to install anything else. You don't have to install Seventh Heaven or like anything, just literally hit run and then you're done. I think I answered my own question. I was wondering if we put in a shortcut to Fort Condor, but I think that was a New Threat thing. Yeah, I guess we'll grab that. I mean, why not? Oh, you know what I do want to grab, actually? Not that it will matter too much. Can you get out of the way, kid? I don't think it'll matter too much, but Also, I'm not buying any grenades, so enemies actually are normal and we don't kill them in 2 seconds. I want to buy a fire, because you don't get a fire normally till Red 13. And we might need it for trivia. I don't think we will, but... So this is the spot I was talking about where you can fight sweepers. Right here. In this one little spot, you can fight sweepers. And that's, I think, the last time you can fight them. Yeah, we put a guy at the bottom of the North Crater, which is, like, super nice. It's all stuff like that where, like, you can completely ignore it if you want, but it's there if you want it, kind of stuff. If you're someone that's, like, it's not fair to use someone to teleport out of the North Crater. Part of the challenge is walking all the way up the crater. Then you can just not talk to the guy, but he's there if you want him. It's all stuff like that. Visit the weapon shop guy upstairs. Yeah, I don't think she was supposed to stay upstairs. Because not only is he in a different building, but he's not upstairs in the building. He's on the first floor. Hey look, it's Vanna White showing us something in the monitor. She's doing her job. Give my money back. Move your butt, Tifa. Oh, you're welcome, Silent. Yeah, I'm glad I found that. Shoutouts to Aaron. He helped me with that. Or not Aaron. Carrie helped me with that. All right, back to trivia. So we have, I believe, just like rocket launchers here, right? Oh, the grass strikes are here too. All right, so this is Grass Strike, an incredible name. Starting the trend of strange names in this game, as you will see. Grass Strikes have spider webs on their steel, drop, and morph table, which is extremely valuable this early in the game, and you will not have access to slow again until Gungaga. So a lot of challenge runs you see me do in the past, I always stop here and get spider webs, because they are incredibly good for pretty much the entire game, but especially for the beginning because you don't have access to slow till Gungaga, and there's a bunch of bosses pre-Gungaga that can be slowed, almost all of them. They will always use Silk until the entire party has slow. So if you're immune to slow, they just stand there and never attack. Which you're not really going to see till later, but if you do happen to have slow resistance, they will just stand here and never attack. But once you have slow, then they start attacking you. They die of embarrassment for not being able to do the one thing that they do. Give me a spider web. Aw. Well, I said I'm only fighting one, so... Before we go further, let's fight rocket launchers. So they should be in here as well. I want to say we tested that a long time ago to see what they would do if you didn't have any gil during that part. They just steal you down to 0. Which boss enemy do you tend to throw spider webs on? I think it's good for the Zolam. I think it's good on maybe Genova. What else? A lot of stuff after Gungaga, like all the bosses after Gungaga, but at that point you could technically get slow materia, but usually I don't even get time materia. Usually I just use spider webs. Okay, this says rocket launchers are by the ladder. Let's try that. What room is actually called ladder? I know, I'm pretty sure they show up in that hallway, but... but like Materia Keeper, Palmer, even Demon's Gate, Red Dragon. Is this called ladder? No. I don't think they show up past this. Uh-oh, we're stuck. Guess we'll see. Yeah, that ladder can soft lock you. I know the blue goos and juice tanks appear here. Aha, okay, they do appear here. Okay, rocket launcher. Not too much exciting with these guys. They only have one attack, and it's called rocket launcher. And they use it every other turn on the party member with the least HP. So if you go into this fight with someone with low HP, that can actually be kind of scary. This enemy shows up later as part of guard system, and it gets an extra attack called Confuse Missile. But it's still the same exact enemy. It's called rocket launcher, but it gets an extra attack in just that fight. And these are also a great grind because they're weak against lightning. So if you put all lightning on, you can just or all bolt, you can one-shot all of them. And makes for a pretty quick grind if you need to grind early. And they have a little spinny bit. Yeah. Very important. Have I ever played the Final Fantasy VII NES video game? Yes, I have an entire playthrough of it. I actually got a physical copy of it. Physical copy of the Chinese bootleg NES version. And we did a whole playthrough of it.